I, Paul Diffley, hereby call the Board of Education special meeting to order at 5 p.m. We have a quorum present with 4 board members in attendance. Call for a let's see, we've done that. Okay. Yeah. I, Paul Diffley, hereby reconvene the Board of Education special meeting in open session at 5:01 p.m. Quorum is present with all 4 board members in attendance. Let the minutes reflect Mr. Pardew's absence today. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the public. I'd like to welcome the community members in attendance this evening. It's great to see you here. As a reminder, governing board meetings are a business meeting of the board held in public, and although public participation is encouraged, it's not the public's meeting. It is the duty of the board president and/or clerk of the board to maintain an orderly, respectful, and peaceful meeting where all perspectives, voices, and opinions are welcome. And that's truth. Please refrain from speaking out when another person has the floor. That'd be a great help. In closed session, no action was taken. Let's see. Let's stand please for the Pledge of Allegiance and I'll lead it. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Item D3, approval of agenda. This calls for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Oh, this is a good part. E1, special recognitions. Dr. Andrus.
So I'm going to head down to the floor just for a moment.
You bet.
Thank you. We have a couple of students we'd like to recognize tonight, and I don't know if they're all here. Let's hope so. Okay, we're going to start with Ella Harris. Now, Ella Harrison, you are the advisor, correct? Great. Why don't you come up and help me out? Is our student here? Is Sarah here? Come on up, please. We're going to recognize you. Okay, so this is part of the Directing Change Film Contest. And why don't you tell us about what you did? Actually, we're going to start with your teacher. Tell us what this is about, and then tell us what you did. And then we're going to watch it. Oh, you said you didn't have to say anything? Okay, well, let's let your video say the words. Okay, you stand right there.
But you have to talk, Sarah. She participated in the Directing Change Film Contest, which is a statewide contest where students make 60-second PSA videos on the topics of suicide prevention or mental health awareness. So Sarah can tell you which category she entered in and a little bit about her film.
The category that I chose was through the lens of culture, and I had wrote a poem for English for extra credit, and it just fit perfectly with the category. So yeah, now we're here.
And what did you win?
I won first place out of the state of California, and I won $1,000.
Here it is.
She's too dark to share her light. She's too scared to stand up for what's right. She's too scarred. She carries too much pain. She's too ugly. She has nothing to gain. She should just run away and never return. Her skin already reflects the meaning of what she could be, burnt. No one would want her, no one would care. But look at that kinky, rough, nappy hair. This is a phase of what Black girls go through, but I gained the courage to escape from the raids, and so can they. I had to break off the bars to lose the expectations of just being Black, because I'm not. I'm a young Black girl. If you are ever feeling so low or out of love for yourself that you have thoughts of suicide, you are not alone. And please call 1-800-273-8255. Help is available, and there is hope.
Wow, so it's more than just this, it's more than this certificate? It's just a small certificate, thank you. Congrats. Anything else you want to share with us?
The honest to God, that's all I gotta say.
Thank you very much. Now, Sarah's classmate is Robert Gallardo. Robert, why don't you come on up? And you're gonna do the same thing, all right, Robert? Congratulations. And Robert, you're a junior?
Yes.
Okay, let's hear from your teacher first.
So Robert did, his video was on suicide prevention, and he ended up, just a little background with the contest. They take the state of California, divide us into 5 different regions. So Sarah got first place in our region, which moved her on to the state level, which then she ended up winning state. Robert got second place in our region, and was also recognized at the Riverside County Award ceremony. And so Robert can let you know what he won and that experience.
Yes, I entered into the suicide prevention category to hopefully give students something that honestly not a lot of students necessarily know of, and that's the resources and capability to help others that are dealing with suicide and issues throughout their life. And so, yeah, I got second place. I won $250, and at the ceremony that Harrison had talked about, I was able to get a cool box. So,
All right, thank you. We'll show your video now.
There was a point where you and I were inseparable. So you were a vibrant beam of joy that could put a smile on anyone's face. For some reason, you began to drift away, and eventually we fell apart. I noticed and asked if you had any thoughts of suicide or self-harm. You told me you were all right. I felt powerless, so I brought the issue to an adult. They referred me to the suicide hotline where I got the resources to help you. With time, that beam within you slowly came back and was brighter than before. That beam was what helped me find my friend through the storm. If you notice a friend or family member that is showing signs of suicide, be direct and ask them if they have been having suicidal thoughts. They might be resistant at first, and if so, get a trusted adult involved or call the suicide hotline at 1-800-852-8336.
Congratulations. Thank you. All right, thank you very much. And thank you for all the work. Trustees, you want to add any comments as well?
They were very moving. Thank you, both of you, for doing this. It's a great public service as well.
Absolutely. And you're just representing Murrieta so wonderfully. Although each of those were very heavy issues, watching you do that work just makes my heart sing. Thank you, both of you.
I'd certainly like to see more done during the year. So if you have anything that you feel good about, would like to see it. It's exciting to see how the students feel towards different subjects and put it into expression using film. It's just very exciting. Thank you.
Excellent work, very inspiring, and shows your empathy for others. Very impressive. Thank you.
At this time, the governing board welcomes public comments. Pursuant to Education Code 35145.5, Public comment at special board meetings may only be received concerning items posted on the agenda. Individuals wishing to address the board are requested to complete a request to address the Board of Education and a card which is located at the entrance to the boardroom and submitted to the executive assistant to the superintendent and board in accordance with board bylaw 9323. Individual speakers are allowed up to 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda item. The board shall limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. We have one comment. Mr. John Leonard. Welcome.
Well, hello, everybody.
The timer's working, but it's a little dark. So
That's all right. I'm not going to be up here for too long, I don't think. Anyway, I had just a short while to look over the documents, specifically the BP 6141A for curriculum development. And what I would ask the superintendent and for the board to urge the superintendent to do is to involve more of the community, specifically the parents, guardians, and taxpayers of Murrieta into the committees, both for the materials and also for the curriculum development. So I think it's been obvious the last couple of meetings here that the people feel very strongly about that they just need to be involved. And I think they've also demonstrated that they're very capable of also giving a sound opinion as to what's being read and what they feel is needed and what they want for not only their children, but for the community. So specifically, looking down through a couple of the items here, under the concepts and roles on 6142.1, sexual health, HIV, AIDS prevention. I'm just curious as to what's involved with that exactly. If we could expound on these things, and I think that when we get through into the process more, I think everyone's going to want to know exactly what all of these paragraphs are. And I'm just wondering why AIDS prevention is singled out. There seems to be probably many other sexual health concepts that are important, just as HIV/AIDS is. And then also 6142.8 is comprehensive health. So I'm just wondering how those two interrelate, or if they do, or what's involved with that. And another one, a big pet peeve of mine, anyone who knows me, is civic education, 6142.2. Without trying to be a wise guy at all, I'm suggesting that the board, senior staff, and the teachers be the very first to self-examine in their civics experience and how well that they would do with that. It's very important if you're going to teach civics that you're well versed in how government is supposed to work, and the items that you maybe need to brush up on, it would be very easy to find and single those things out. And I feel very strongly about that. And also 6161.11 on page 2, supplementary instructional material as well as supplemental instruction, the same for both, and alternative materials and alternative activities. I think these things it's very important that they're detailed. You see the alternative supplemental thrown in, you explain what the main body of instruction is or material, but then we always seem to have supplemental and or auxiliary, and I think that those items need to be finely detailed as well too. Okay, and that's about all. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Question?
A clarifying question on the comment,
Yes,
I suppose, of him, a question of
Yes.
the public, member of the public?
yes.
Usually we don't.
The last
Why don't you
one,
ask me the question?
the last one was the number and I didn't catch
Oh.
the number.
Sir, could you please reiterate the last reference?
I think it was 6161.11. Gotcha. Got it. Thank you. I just didn't get the number. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification.
Moving on to F, which is consent calendar. Consent calendar items are voted on collectively as a group. Upon board member requests, items may be removed from the consent calendar for discussion and individual action. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendars items F1 through F4?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? I'll make a comment. For example, one of the items is an approval to dispose of obsolete, unusable material. Another one, sometimes approved, in this case, out-of-state travel. And here is an approval to renew a contract with Gold Star Foods. And in 2 cases. So things like that that are just normal, everyday things that we just lump them together in a consent calendar. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Passed 4-0. Moving on to G, 1, approval of the 23-24 school year Board of Education meeting schedule. This calls for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments about that? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Passes 4-0. G2, approval of personnel report. Dr. Andrus.
Yeah, we'd like to take a moment to pause just for a moment. We have 2 of the folks who will be approved on the personnel report tonight. They're here with us tonight. These are 2 of our principals who are accepting new positions in the district. I'm asking them to stand. If Mr. Daniel Baldwin will stand first. Mr. Baldwin is currently our principal at Lisa J. Mills, but will be moving down here to this building as a director in human resources over certificated staff. So we're delighted to have Daniel after many years of service at the elementary school site. We're excited about that change. We're not excited about trying to fill your shoes at the elementary school. But we know there's great people right behind you. So thank you. Appreciate that. Mr. Rob Lurkins, if you'd stand too. Mr. Rob Lurkins, he's accepted somewhat of a lateral position. He's a principal at Murrieta Elementary School, but he'll be a principal on special assignment overseeing our expanded learning opportunity program. As that expands across the district and really ramps up, we're excited about having Rob in that capacity. So same thing, Rob's been at his school, Murrieta Elementary for quite some time. And again, leaves a vacancy there. So we're in the works to replace him. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, this calls for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. G3, this is the first reading of proposed revisions to board policies and administrative regulations. Is there any comments on this? Are there any comments on that?
Before the board begins a discussion, if there is to be a discussion, I just want to remind the board about how we got to this point. There was a request brought forward by Mr. Pardue to discuss these policies for potential revision, and there was a discussion that occurred back, I want to say in February. It took us a few months to go through and work with our attorneys and develop these revisions. We feel that these both strengthen the language and add some clarifying words for our staff. Also, the board policy 4119.25, that one had not been updated in quite some time, the political activities one. So it was due for revision anyways. And so that's what you see before you is based on that discussion, this work has come full circle, and this is just the first reading. So and as staff, we'd be interested to hear comments from the board if there's any to be made about the proposed that's there. We prefer to have it now as opposed to next week when we're trying to approve it. So the sooner the better.
Any comments on this?
It seems like common sense policies to me. So yeah, I don't have any issues with any of it.
Same.
Okay. Call for the vote. All in favor?
This is just informational. No need to vote.
You're right. Get into the habit. Huh?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, this is G3, first reading of proposed revisions to board policies and administrative regulations. Any comments on that? G4, presentation of local control and accountability plan. This is Mutchik Jacks. Welcome.
Dr. Andrus, did we skip something from closed session that we were supposed to do?
It's coming up.
Okay, okay.
Thank you, though.
Yeah.
All right, good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here tonight to present about the LCAP for the 23-24 school year. It's an annual presentation, but it is my first time doing the LCAP, so I'm pretty excited to be here and to have made it to this point. As you know, you should all have a copy of the LCAP in front of you. Is that true? Okay, very good. This is the draft. As I move through the presentation, please feel free to let me know if you have questions along the way. I'll stop periodically and try to see if there's any questions as we go. Gotta get used to this, the new presentation. I know, I'm keep doing this. All right, I'm going to start by giving you just a little bit of background on the LCAP, just to make sure we all have the same understanding of the purpose of the plan. So I'm just going to read the first bullet because it's a kind of an overall definition of it. The LCAP's a 3-year plan. It describes the goals, actions, services, and expenditures to support positive student outcomes that address state and local priorities. The LCAP provides an opportunity for districts to share their stories of how, what, and why programs and services are selected to meet their local needs. There are also 3, I like that as a nice overview for all of us to understand. There are 3 key functions. I can really assure you that they apply well to the work that's been done this year. You'll really hear these themes throughout my presentation tonight. For one, the LCAP is a process of comprehensive strategic planning. For 2, it requires meaningful engagement of our educational partners. And for 3, it assures that there is a level of accountability and compliance as we meet our local needs. As a reminder, the LCFF funding formula, which is the funding we are accounting for in the LCAP, is based on the district's student count for foster youth, English learners, and low-income students. So it really is our primary responsibility in the LCAP to demonstrate that we're continuing to provide quality services for these students. And you'll hear me speak about that throughout the presentation as well. Okay, this is where I give you a tour of the LCAP. So if you have it in front of you, you're welcome to walk through it. I feel like it is such a big plan. It can be kind of cumbersome. So it's nice just I'm going to walk through each of the tabs and kind of show you what they are. The first part of the plan includes what we refer to as the BOP, which is the budget overview for parents. It's really a quick one-pager that provides some basic information about the overall budget. Next, we have the plan summary. It provides some general information about our district, reflections on our successes and areas of need, and highlights of the LCAP. The third section, Engaging Educational Partners, looks closely at the way that the district gained input and feedback from our educational partners. It makes notes on that feedback, and then it even has to speak to how that feedback informed our LCAP. It's a pretty detailed section, but I really encourage you to take a look at that because it really is word by word the things that parents and teachers and staff have provided us in terms of information. The next section, which I've labeled as part 2 on the slide, is really the meat, if you will, of the LCAP, and it includes our goals. Our LCAP has 4 goals, which I'm going to review in detail in a minute. In the document, each goal has an explanation. It has a number of metrics, all the data, fun stuff in there, aligned to that goal. And then it has the key actions that are within the goal and an analysis of how those actions were carried out the previous year. And so you'll see a tab now for each of the 4 goals, and I'm going to go over those in just a minute. And then the final part of the LCAP includes a section called Increased and Improved Services. As a district that does not receive concentrated funds because of our percentage of students from those target groups, we really have to justify that the actions that we've put in place are the most effective use of funds and are principally directed to supporting those students. So this section really provides that justification with data and research. And then following that section, it's lengthy, it's a lot of narrative, so you'll see that when you look through it. And then following that section are the expenditures, the tables for the funding from the year, and our instructions from the LCAP. That has to be part of the document. Okay, so that's a lot to go over, but I just wanted to make sure you kind of see how it's organized. Maybe it helps you as you're looking through it. So next, we're going to dive into each goal and review the actions from this year's LCAP. And I'm really going to give you a high view of them. So if you have specific questions, let me know. But before I dig into those, any questions so far? Goal 1. Our first goal is student learning and achievement. It really is the core of what we do as a district. This goal includes actions to support staffing for smaller classes K through 3, counseling supports at all levels, and coordinators who oversee areas such as data, curriculum and standards implementation, and instructional technology. This goal also supports our AVID program, our CTE offerings, and a number of general efforts to ensure students are college and career ready. In fact, you had presentations today about our profile of a graduate. That falls under that action because it's really related to that action and goal. Goal 2 is prevention, intervention, and acceleration, which looks at ways to address learning loss and close achievement gaps for students. Our key actions in this goal include elementary intervention teachers, as well as additional sections for our secondary schools to implement intervention and acceleration based on their specific needs at the site. It also includes our programs and supports for English learners, as well as several programs that are used for intervention in our district, such as Read 180. I want to point out that that action for English learners is really vital because that is one of our priority student groups for the funding. And it's also been identified as a need for our district based on data and even our feedback from educational partners. So it's a very important action in there. Any questions? We're okay? Okay. Goal 3 is professional development. It represents our district's commitment to continuous learning for all, particularly in the LCAP for the staff who work directly with students daily. So this goal includes instructional coaches, as well as our induction program, which provides new teachers with support, training, and mentoring. It also enables us to fund our curriculum work teams, as well as our outsourced data and assessment programs, which both those things, the work teams and those programs, are really vital to the district's focus on PLCs, which we've talked a lot about. They provide the infrastructure and the data that is needed for those teams to really meet and function effectively.
I'm an induction coach also.
Yeah.
Can you explain the difference between instructional coaching and the induction? Because that's coaching too.
So our instructional coaches, while they might support some of our new teachers, they're providing general coaching throughout the district for all of our teachers. Yeah.
Okay.
They're primarily situated at the elementary levels where we have our instructional coaches. And goal 4 is around equity, engagement, school culture, and climate. It really encompasses a number of actions that contribute to just fully supporting all of our students and families. Some of our actions in goal 4 include equitable practices and educational partner engagement. So that includes things like our student and parent advisories where we meet with students and families. The goal also includes mental health supports, our efforts to address behavior through developing multi-tiered systems of support at our sites, and our services toward foster and homeless youth. And I'm going to point out again that similar to our English learner action, the targeted support of foster youth is really important because it aligns with the funding as well as a need that has been identified in our district for support. And then finally, this goal encompasses actions that address attendance, including transportation services, which has been added to the plan this year. This focus is about providing busing for minimal to no cost to any of our TK to 6th grade students from low-income families or students experiencing homelessness, and as well as foster youth. So it's really aligned with the district's transportation plan, which was shared at a board meeting earlier in the year.
Mrs. Muchnick, a couple of years ago, I believe we had the second highest number of foster and homeless youth behind is either Banning or Beaumont. I get those two mixed up. Just because of the group homes located here. Is that still accurate? Do we still have a higher number of?
I don't know if it's higher. I don't know the comparison, but I don't hear as much about that group of students. And I think it's expanded to be more than that. Is what I'm saying is it's not just a targeted group from that group home. So
I see. Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Could you give us an example of equitable practice?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when we look at the things that fall under there, like what do we actually fund from our plan for those areas? Part of the funding for our coordinator, Tamara Dewey, comes from that, and she works with our staff and supports challenging situations or provides training for them. We also have mentoring sections at our high schools that serve to bring students and almost mentor teacher or coaches with them to work on anything from some of the social skill things that they're working through, academic supports, that kind of thing. And then we also fund our staff going to some of our trainings like the RCOE Equity Through Excellence. So those are the main things that come out of there.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, and then some considerations. It's important just to have context. So I just wanted some main things that have been on my mind that I want to make sure you think about too. You probably, or maybe some of you did, notice that the plan does not significantly change or shift from previous years. A reminder, this is the third year. This is the third year plan of a 3-year plan, the third year of a 3-year plan. So we really do want to keep as much in place as possible. There have been a couple of things that were adjusted. So one thing I want to point out is that we are no longer providing LCAP funding to school sites as we did in our past plans. So this decision was based on a district analysis of how the funds were used in this year and prior years. We really believe that centralizing these resources will provide more accountability and allow the district to better meet the needs of the unduplicated pupils. Our schools will still be provided funds to meet their needs. It just won't be these restricted funds, which were sometimes challenging for them to figure out how to use most effectively. So lots of conversations around that, and I can answer questions if those come up. Secondly, as I mentioned, we have included transportation in this year's LCAP. It aligns perfectly. It's a need coming from our transportation work that we're doing, but it really supports Goal 4 and attendance specifically, because we know that transportation to and from school can be a barrier for some of our students and families. I also want to point out, and hopefully you will see this as you read the plan, this is very encouraging. Our LCAP is very connected to the annual goals that you all passed earlier in the year that were approved by the board this year. Many of the actions align directly to the goals that we had articulated for the coming year. It's really healthy, I think. It really indicates that we've got a lot of our systems moving in the same direction. And then I also mentioned earlier that our district, because of our funding level, has a responsibility to really focus our attention on the target student groups. It's just important that you remember that at all times as you're reviewing it. It's a unique situation. We really have to develop and in essence justify the impact that our goals are having on these student groups. And I talked about that increased and improved services that really goes into depth as to that. But districts that have funding levels that are higher and have larger number of students that fall into those student groups, any action they put forward is going to support those kids, because it's all their a lot more of their kids are falling into those groups. Because ours is smaller, we really have to show that what we're doing is going to make a difference for them. And then finally, I just want to say, you can see the middle picture, continuous improvement. Ultimately, this is an important plan, but it really is more than just this static document that you're looking at in front of you. Really, the spirit is that we're engaged in the conversations throughout the year and just in a really robust process of continuously improving. I definitely feel that to be the case this year. I feel like this really authentically represents what we're doing and focusing on as a district. And I think it'll come even more in the coming year when we build a whole new 3-year plan. You're going to really see that spirit of working together to figure out how it might look different or adjust.
I'd just like to make a little note here. If the alignment of the board's annual goals, along with the LCAP, and along with the superintendent's goals, is really important. And in fact, it's highlighted. Anybody wants more information about this, high functioning districts do this, and it's a lighthouse study. It's a landmark study, and it's been done for years and years and years. So they've got years worth of improvement and going back and looking at it again and more studies. And so I'm so happy to hear that each of those things informs the others, and we all know about it. So we're all on the same path. It's awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you for saying that, because that's why I brought it up. It means I'm feeling that, and I'm feeling the authentic work that's happening all aligned. And so it is a good feeling.
So I'd encourage anyone who has not read that, the Lighthouse Studies, just look up Lighthouse Study and you'll get it.
Yeah, I concur because I've read it as well. Yeah.
All right, so here we are. Here's our next steps. Last week, we submitted this draft plan to the county to review. It's part of what they call a fast pass process. Tonight, we will be posting the LCAP on our website for public review. And actually, tomorrow, I meet with the county to hear their feedback on the draft so that we can make any adjustments that they see are warranted. The official public hearing will take place on June 8th, the same evening that we have a public hearing on our district's overall budget. And then we did. I'm impressed. On June 13th, the board will have an agenda item to officially approve the plan. We are planning to alter that date. It was the 15th, so Ms. Diaz is ahead of us. I appreciate it. And our final slide. I just want to give a couple, first of all, thank you very much. I want to give a couple shout outs. Bob McGonigal was really integral with all the data that you see in here and collecting that and helping me get it into place. And I also want to thank Jackie Fisher, who's our account specialist, and Samantha Tamayan, who is our director in fiscal services, for their work with the fiscal part of that. It really is a team effort, and we really have supported each other to accomplish it. So lots of information, but I'm really open to questions, and thank you for your time tonight.
I do, yes. So many years ago, you may remember, as a parent, I was on the LCAP committee, helping to explore it and develop it. And one of the things that I found was that there are so many acronyms.
Yes.
And that as a parent, I didn't know what any of those were. I didn't know that AHES was Antelope Hills Elementary School. And so just going through the LCAP, it was really inaccessible. So I sat down and I went through the LCAP paragraph by paragraph, page by page, and I pulled out every single one, typed it up, put their explanations, and I handed that over to Pamela Wilson, who was in your position 2 people before you. And I'm not seeing that in here. And that was to be included in the LCAP every time.
I will look for
updated. I would prefer not to have to go back and do that whole thing again.
I know. If not,
hope we
you
can
who?
find that, because
So,
it
yeah.
really is very important because it's accessible to non-district staff and non-teachers and non-school staff. And as a parent going through that, it wasn't accessible at all.
Okay, I will look for that and see what we can figure out. One way or the other, we'll get that in there. That makes sense.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
It's a big deal. We had one. Do we still put it out?
On our website.
Acronyms for people who attend our meetings, because we speak in foreign tongues.
It's true.
When we use them. Thank you. It's a lot of effort. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Excellent work.
We're all done?
So if there's any, during the course, now that you have copies of the draft plan, it's going to the county and back for revision. So if the board has any further questions that come up during the week or as you review, please contact me, or we'll set up time to talk to Ms. Muchnick prior
Absolutely.
to when we get to the end line. We would need the questions resolved first, not at the very end. So we prefer the early. So thank you for your consideration.
Moving on to G5, approval of new high school course outline, foundations and education. This calls for a motion and a second.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any comments?
I'm just very happy to see this. And Mrs. Bacchus, thank you so much for being here tonight. This is excellent work. Oh, and I'm sorry, you too. Thank you.
So as the board proceeds with approval, this as it's been first and second, this is the beginning of a new pathway within the district for teaching students, young people, about becoming teachers themselves. And so we're delighted for that. There's great work happening. We hear lots of interest from our students about what they experience in our schools. And we have lots of evidence of people who have come through our schools and return as teachers and other employees. But this one is specific about becoming an educator. So this is a great first step. We look forward to rolling this all out over the next few years and then replicating this at the other high schools as well.
Very exciting. Suffice it to say that when I was moving into college, nothing like this existed in high school.
Yeah.
So it's very exciting. Thank you. Okay, let's see. We need a motion and a second, or did we have that already? We did have that already. But you need a vote then. Is everybody's spoken? Yeah, I guess so. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Oh, this is a good one. You'll like this one. G6, approval of fireworks show at Murrieta Mesa and Vista Murrieta homecoming football games. Call for a motion and a second.
So
So
moved. Okay, you got it. Second.
only if we can go.
Yeah.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments? Any
Hopefully we have
explosive-
insurance. Just kidding.
Oh, yes, we're well covered. And I know that our risk management will scrutinize what's going on along with our police department. So we'll be covered. Excuse me, the fire department.
Yeah. And our fire pathways.
So they might be there
It
too.
might be there too. Yeah. Why not? Yes, okay. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. G7, this student discipline. Expulsion case number 2022-2023-120.
Mr. Diffley,
Let's see. Yes,
I move that the Board of Education of the Murrieta Valley Unified School District expel student case number 2022-2023-120 for the violation of California Education Code 48900C for the remainder of the second semester of the 2022-2023 school year and the first semester of the 2023-2024 school year.
Second,
do we have a second?
second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. G8 is approval of change to the 22-23 Board of Education meeting schedule. Move the June 15th, 2023 regular meeting to Tuesday, June 13th, 2023. This calls for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments regarding this change? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries 4-0. G9, review the board policy and administrative regulation BP/AR 6141, curriculum development, articulation, and evaluation. Any
So-
comments?
So, Mr. President, before the board begins the discussion about this, this was a discussion that kind of came up through the last board meeting, and in consultation with you, we determined it's a good idea to bring this back for the board for discussion. This policy was originally adopted in 1990 and then an update in 2021. And so this is a newly adopted or revised policy that we have both the policy and administrative regulation. But given some of the discussion that occurred, both comments from the public and within the board and a request by Ms. Lunn and others, we bring it forward for it to discuss. And also staff will be listening to comments for the potential of future revision to the policy or administrative regulation. So staff is all ears on this one.
Let's see. Do we have comments? Go ahead. Who's first? I'll just work down the line.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah, so I just, I have an email here from somebody from the California Department of Education, and they cite the code section 60002. And the wording just kind of strikes me as being a bit stronger than our current policy. It says each district board shall provide for substantial teacher involvement in the selection of instructional materials and shall promote the involvement of parents and other members of the community in the selection of instructional materials. And then there's a book, Guidelines for Piloting Textbooks and Instructional Materials, which was updated 2015. The committee should involve representatives of all populations in the district, including parents, administrators, teachers at all grade levels, and special needs programs, including English learner programs. So, and then comparing it to what we have, just an excerpt here. The process also may provide opportunities for input from students, parents, guardians, representatives of local businesses and post-secondary institutions and other community members. So the statute talks about shall provide, and this is just very much softer with may. In addition, and then this is from our board policy also, the board may require a review of the curriculum in one or more subject areas as needed in response to student assessment results, feedback from teachers, administrators, or parent guardians, new research on program effectiveness, or changing student needs. So it just seems like the statute is, much more forceful as far as involving more people. Sorry.
Thank you.
Mrs. Young?
No, I think it's a good thing to involve the public for feedback. So, yeah.
The more the better.
Yeah.
Mr. Dipley?
Yes, good.
Oh, I have some comments if that's okay.
Yes,
What?
I just got
Um,
off on the fireworks thing for a minute. Never mind.
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, we're
Sorry.
circling back. Okay. Yes, I concur. The board policy that reads now says something along the lines of and community involvement. And the 30 days out there after the decision has been made certainly met that those words, but I don't know that it was particularly useful because the decision had been made by the teachers making the recommendation for the curriculum. And prior to me being on the board, I was on a ton of parent committees. I mean, I know I worked very directly with you, Mrs. Muchnick, on the report card committee and the LCAP committee. And most recently, Mrs. Schreiber has done a wonderful job with profiles of the graduate, getting community members in here. And, I don't think we need a 300-member community committee on this kind of thing, but I do think we need far more involvement from the start. And this can help educate the community about what the curriculum is, what the options are, and what the standards that we have to meet before the actual decision by the teachers is made and sent to us. It kind of seems, I don't know, horse before the cart kind of thing, where we really do need more community engagement. And that would be from our stakeholders, our students, our families, our staff, and our community partners getting involved. So again, Mrs. Schreiber, kudos to you for getting so many people involved in the profiles of a graduate. And I know, Mrs. Muchnick, you have been really exemplary at that. And I think we need to go beyond, in my opinion, and I'm trying to stay in my lane as a board member here, go beyond just saying the community will be involved, but provide some actual mechanisms. And maybe that's in the administrative regulation about how they're involved. Because it's not enough just to say they should be involved. Well, of course they should, but we really need to provide some structure for that, in my opinion. And I'm not representing the other board members here. They may feel differently. So a mechanism for how that happens. And, we have rich parental involvement in this school district. We have PTAs, we have all of our parent advisory committees, APAC, LPAC, DLAC, CPAC. We have site councils, we have student site councils, we have ASB groups. We have our faith leaders. We have so many parents who are constructively and productively already leaders in our community and already involved in our district. Let's tap into that potential there and involve, from the very beginning. The other question I have is about piloting and how that decision is made to either pilot or not pilot, because it's my opinion, when we pilot curriculums in the classroom, there's a whole built-in group of families who are being exposed to each of these 2 or 3, 4, however many you pilot, and will have feedback, who are actually seeing the curriculum in work. They're seeing, or in place, they're seeing the supplemental materials, they're seeing all of it. So that's where I'm at, where I'd like to see it be much more structured or mechanisms in place for community engagement. It's not enough just to say, that's a great idea and we ought to do it.
Well, it seems to me along the same lines, buttressing what you're saying, is that we need to work backwards when we're going to attempt something like that and have I hate to put this onto Monica again, or Monica, but have more advertising, anything that we can do using all the sources at our disposal to get people and not remind them once, but remind them maybe 5 times. Would like to have you here. Would you come work on this committee or what have you? But I agree with you. More people need to be involved and listened to in the community.
And Mr. Diffley, we used to have a thing called our key communicators. And I know that we're very hesitant because, you know, like I said a few meetings ago, who wakes up in the morning and says, gosh, you know what I need? More emails. No one ever said that. And we don't want to overwhelm parents and community members with another email, because then people tune out and they quit listening. But we used to have key communicators, and it was a group of community partners through mainly, we tried not to put parents on there because we wanted it to be more community based. And it was maximum of 4 times a year communications could go out. And one of those communications that went out was when we had the Liberty Fire. And the reason why we did that was because we included a lot of communication in there about safe spaces to go to, where the Red Cross place, where you could take your horses and your animals and that kind of information, because that went out to the community. And as a key communicator, you could get that information. If your neighbors needed help, you could help them. Or if your friends over by the Liberty Fire were calling and saying, "I don't have a place to go," you could say, "Let me forward this email to you." So it's not constant emailing, because I do think that that's a problem. Constant robocalls, that's irritating. And as a parent myself, I will admit I have tuned some stuff out. I'm like, oh, what did I do? Not another. It's hard to keep up, but really targeted, but increasing that communication. And I would like to, that's a separate note, key communicator list that I'd like to maybe see happen again. Am I out of my lane yet?
No.
Sorry. And another thing. Just kidding.
Good comments. Good comments. Dr. Anderson.
Is there anything else specific to curriculum adoption that you'd like to see addressed? Because we'll take some notes, and from that we'll gather some things and look at both past policies, other districts, and see what they have. This is not something that's going to come back next week. It'd be a while before we'd have a draft to consider.
Sure.
I just want to say thank you for putting this on here, because this is something I have been actually talking about for a number of years.
Okay. Let's see. We've done that one. I call for a motion and second to adjourn the Board of Education meeting at, wow. 7 minutes to 6. Yeah.
5:53.
5:53.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nice. No comments. Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming.